Welcome everyone to Enhancing Your Degree with Co-op and Graduate Studies. My name is Flipini. I work in International Student Support. My pronouns are she, they, and I'll be moderating today's presentation / panel. And we'll introduce everyone here momentarily, and we'll take you through how the day is going to look. But first, I want to start with land acknowledgement. Toronto is subject to Treaty 13 and is Anishinaabe territory, which includes the Mississaugas of the Credit, Haudenosaunee, and Huron-Wendat. Many communities have since settled here, enjoying the bounties of Lake Ontario, the amusements of the city centre, and the open fields of the surrounding area. This includes many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit, as well as non-Indigenous people like you and me. My grandparents first moved here from Greece in the late 50s, looking for a better life after the war. They settled on the Danforth, otherwise known as Greektown, and raised my father there, where he later met my mother, a fourth-generation Scottish-Canadian, who then had me and my 3 siblings. Toronto is also where I met my husband, an immigrant whose family had moved continents to avoid yet another war. So in case it isn't clear, I am profoundly grateful for this land and the ability to live, learn, and grow on its soil. Why did you choose Toronto for your studies? Anyone online wants to unmute themselves and let us know why you chose Toronto and your connection with the land. Or pop it in the chat if that option is available to you. Does anyone on the panel want to share why they came to Toronto or their relationship with the land? Yeah.
Yeah, I came to Toronto because I heard of the multicultural environment and the fact that they're very acceptable towards immigrants and opportunities for international students. And yeah, I've heard from multiple people from my background from Iran that it's a good country for immigrants. So that's why I choose Toronto.
While my family came to Toronto to escape atrocities, the Canadian government sought to eradicate Indigenous people. As recently as the 80s, residential schools were still in effect. Children were taken and adopted into white families, and even now, generations are healing from trauma and abuse. Nothing will ever make this past okay, but the future is still bright. The resilience and tenacity of Indigenous people to retain their languages and ceremonies in spite of organized efforts to eradicate them is inspiring, and our role as stewards of this land is to know this legacy, advocate for equity, and leave the land better than we found it. Small steps are being taken towards reconciliation at both policy and on-the-ground levels, and to that end, today we are talking about enhancing your degree, which will hopefully either have you maybe staying with us a little bit longer so you can learn a little bit more about the land, or get you more interested in the opportunities that this land is affording us. And maybe along the way, learn a little bit more about the caretakers of that land. So we'll move on to the first part of the presentation, the agenda. So we're going to start out with graduate studies at TMU, and then we'll go on to co-op. And that'll be the first half of the presentation will be more information-based. And then we'll move on to the student panel and question period. And then we'll finish it off with a raffle prize draw. So first, I'd like to welcome Christine and Zeke. Christine from the graduate school and Zeke from immigration to talk to you all about how you can enhance your degree through graduate studies. First, we'll start with a Mentimeter. So if you can So if you can go to the Mentimeter. Is it gonna work? I'll put the code in the chat. If you can give me a thumbs up if you're able to find the Mentimeter, okay? Yep. Awesome. Okay. Okay, so what words come to mind when you think about graduate school? If you can pop that into the chat, or sorry, into the Mentimeter, we should see the words come up. Masters, okay, fair. Yeah, makes sense. Expanding connections, job prospects. Awesome. Okay. Specialization. Yeah, so with those words in mind, Christine is going to take us through some more information about graduate studies here at TMU. Sorry, one second. Gotta find this one.
Great, so if you're wondering why you might want to pursue graduate studies, well, going for a master's degree is a great way to advance your knowledge and pursue research interests in depth under faculty supervision through a thesis or a major research paper. So if you have a burning question in your heart that you want to pursue in detail, there's amazing research resources here at TMU. And you could even pursue a PhD after the master's degree if that is your passion. There are also course-based master's degrees that we call professional programs, and these are usually focused on a particular field or industry, and oftentimes they have a placement or practicum, internship, or capstone project. So it's a great way to expand your professional network and gain industry exposure. And sometimes some programs even will have a little bit of both. They might have an MRP, which is a major research paper, and say an internship, right? So it's a really great way to find a program that meets those needs in terms of what your professional and personal goals are. And it's been found that master's degree holders earn on average 35% more than those with just a bachelor's degree. And they often go on to careers that are related to the master's degree that they studied.
Okay.
When applying to graduate school here at TMU, the minimum academic requirement is a B average in the last 2 years of a 4-year bachelor's degree. Some programs have a little bit of a higher average, so it's a good idea to take a look at the program that you're interested in to make sure. And sometimes there are additional program-specific requirements. It could be like a particular course or an exam like the GRE or GMAT. So you want to take a look and see what your program requires on the website. And of the application process, what we recommend is first to take a look and start preparing your required documents. There's the statement of interest or letter of intent, and this is like a cover letter, but for grad school, it's a little bit more academic, research focused. Your resume or CV. CV stands for curriculum vitae, and it's similar to a resume, but more focused on your academics and research. Your unofficial transcript and grading scale. So for TMU students, unofficial transcript is fine. You don't need to order an official transcript. When you're applying in the OUAC, the option to order an official transcript comes first. So sometimes students just go ahead and do that. That's not required. You don't need to spend that money to order an official transcript for TMU to come to TMU. You can just wait later on in the process and just submit your unofficial academic record that you can download from My Service Hub. Proof of English proficiency, I have it linked here, but for TMU students and students in Canada, if you're international doing your bachelor's degree here in Canada, then you are exempt from submitting any IELTS or anything like that. So you would just submit a self-read statement to explain that you're exempt from the requirement. And then there are program-specific documents. Some programs may require like a portfolio or writing sample or something like that. So it's good to take a look at all the required documents just to see if your program has something unique. And then the application window, our website hyperlink here has important application dates to pay attention to. For most of our programs, if you're looking to apply for for September 2026, there is the first consideration date coming up on January 19th. So that is the priority date. It's not like a hard deadline, but if you apply by then your application will for sure be considered. It'll have priority consideration also for funding, such as entrance scholarships. After that, programs will start making final decisions and sending offers of admission, and as offers start going out, there's fewer sponsors, so it becomes more competitive. So you do recommend applying by January 19th. And then the application deadline for fall is March 13th for international students. Some programs also have what we call multi-intake, where you can apply to start in the winter semester or in the spring semester, right? So take a look at our website. And also some programs have their own unique deadlines, like some programs will close a little bit earlier. So for the most up-to-date information in terms of application dates and deadlines, definitely check out the application dates page on our website.
Sweet. Okay, so yeah, welcome everybody. My name is Zeke. I am one of the international student advisors with International Student Support. And it is my role to support the graduate studies students at Bates School in particular. So we'll go over some immigration considerations now for those students that may be considering advancing to graduate studies after completing an undergraduate program. And there's a few different scenarios that we need to touch on depending on specific circumstances. So I want to start off with the most simple, which is if you are already a TMU student in your undergraduate and you want to continue on to a graduate studies program at TMU as well. So you hold your study permit, which is tied to TMU as your designated learning institution. As many of you probably know, it's a complicated process to change to a new school. And this is no different if you are transferring between undergraduate and graduate. You do need a study permit that is tied to the school you will be attending. This is why it's great if you're continuing on to the master's level still at TMU. It will simplify things. So best case scenario is if your study permit happened to be issued with additional time on it beyond the date that you'll be actually completing the undergraduate program. It's not usually the case, but it can happen that people have additional extra length of time for validity of their study permit. In those cases, if you're going to join a master's program at TMU, you don't need to take any action right away. you will need to, at some point, probably extend the study permit. And when you do that, you will include your new letter of acceptance if it's still valid, or a document to show your enrollment in the master's program, and that will get you your study permit extension documents. But as long as the undergraduate one remains valid and you haven't changed your DLI, there's no extension required of you. That being said, pay attention to the expiry date on the study permit and make sure you keep your documents valid. So if you are not already attending TMU and you're interested in a master's here, or if, let's say the reverse, you are, graduating from an undergraduate program here and you want to apply for a master's elsewhere, you will need a new study permit, and you will need it to be issued before the start date of your program. And this can be tricky. As we just heard, there are priority dates, which I encourage any international students to take note of and try to make those priority application dates, because you will want to have as much time as possible to try and secure a new study permit, as processing times are unpredictable and pretty long at the moment. We do know that IRCC has suggested, at least, or has made the announcement that DLI change study permit extensions are being prioritized for a faster processing time than regular study permit extensions. We don't know what that number looks like. So although regular study permit extensions could be estimated at 6 to 7 months, our understanding based on IRCC's announcement is that it should be much less than that for a DLI change. But then the data is not there for us to know what that actual processing time number might look like. So another thing I want to note before we move on from this is that there has recently been an announcement that master's programs are going to be exempt starting in January 2026 from requiring a provincial attestation letter. Many of you already know what a provincial attestation letter is. It's a key component of your study permit application. And when changing schools or changing level of study, you require a provincial attestation letter in those applications as well. This is why it's worth noting that this policy is going to be changing for master's and PhD students starting in January, hopefully for the better, it looks like. Although we are still waiting for supplementary information on this new policy to come out. And it's our anticipation that because masters don't require a PAL in general, they will not require a PAL to change level of study going forward. So stay tuned to government announcements, and also our office ISS will circulate this type of information as we get it. So that's an important policy, which is in a bit of flux right now, just to be aware of. There's also a link here on this slide where you can see our webinar for study permit extension guidance. We do provide a recorded tutorial as well as several periodic live tutorials for that process. Let's change the slide. Okay. Now, the other consideration when you're between programs at a university in Canada on a study permit is what happens between in those months between when your undergrad finishes and your new master's program is about to start. So it's possible that you will be able to maintain your eligibility to work full-time in between the programs. This is dependent on you having been eligible based on your study permit for the undergraduate to work, that you keep your study permit valid, that you receive a written confirmation from your current school, like your undergraduate program, that you've completed the program, as you would know, while you're during active academic sessions, you may work, but only part-time, 24 hours per week. So once you receive confirmation that you've completed the program, you're between those two programs is treated like a scheduled academic break, and you don't have any limits on your work allowance during scheduled breaks. However, you also must have received a letter of acceptance to your new full-time study program. This is why, again, it can be very beneficial if you're ahead of things and get your application to the master's in under the priority deadline. And then the final point, and this is really, really important in a lot of different ways, is it makes a huge difference if your undergraduate program ends and your new program starts up within 150 days of each other. It's far better for you if it does, if you're able to, let's say, finish up in at the end of winter term and then start up again the following fall term. You must have that timeline affecting you in order to benefit from the ability to work over that summer period. And also, there's a general study permit condition of maintaining any breaks in your study being less than 150 days. Otherwise, you have to take some sort of action. You must either leave the country or change your status to visitor. So it really disrupts the continuity of the study permit if you're not able to move continuously, basically, from one program into the next. So these are some considerations to be aware of in advance before you start taking the steps needed to get into the master's program, or just to be considering alongside of that process. And from a study permit perspective, there are a lot of working parts. So always consider coming and talking to us at ISS so that we can help guide you. Thanks.
All right, so that's it for the grad studies info portion. We're gonna move on to co-op next, and then we'll have the student panel and time for questions. So for co-op, I'd like to introduce Yvonne from Central Co-op, Medhat from TRSM Co-op, Melissa from Architecture and Science Co-op, and Zeke again for immigration considerations. Okay, so we're going to do another Mentimeter. If you can just go back to that same one, it should still be there. Okay, what words come to mind when you think about co-op? Work experience, yep. Sure. Better job opportunities. Earning potential, yep. Explore. Awesome. Okay, so with those words in mind, we'll turn it over to Yvonne to get us started. That's the wrong share screen.
Everyone, my name is Yvonne and I'm one of the co-op program specialists at the Central Co-op office. So it sounded like a lot of you have a general idea what co-op might be, I just wanted to start off a little bit about co-op in case anybody doesn't know. But co-op is a form of experiential learning, and it provides students the opportunity to gain full-time paid work experience during your undergraduate studies. There's a lot of valuable benefits, which a lot of you have said in the Mentimeter, and these benefits come with being in the co-op program, and that's why it's often a popular choice for students. At TMU here, there are 3 co-op offices. There is the Central Co-op office, which is the one that I'm from. There is the Ted Rogers Co-op, which is Medha will talk about it. And then there's also the Engineering Co-op and Internship office with Melissa. So in terms of who to contact, it really depends on your program. If you're a TRSM student, obviously, go to Ted Rogers. Engineering students, go to engineering, with the exception of chemical engineering and architectural science, because if you are a chem eng student or you are in architectural science, or you are a student in any of the other faculties, then you will fall under the Central Co-op office, which is, again, the one that I'm part of. So I'll talk a little bit more about how admission works at the Central Co-op office. And next slide. Awesome. So at the Central Co-op office, there is only one co-op admission application window for first year students. So it's very important to not miss this opportunity. I would say that the first step before applying to co-ops is to check our website to even see if your program has a co-op option. If you are in chemical engineering or architectural science, the admission process is slightly different. And so the information is on the website. Just go to our website. But for the most part, for most programs, co-op is optional. And if there is a co-op option for you, I highly recommend that you attend a co-op information session where you can learn more about how co-op works specifically for your program, because each program does have its slight nuances. At the info session, you will also find out about important deadlines or dates, and ultimately, through the session, we hope that students can decide if co-op is a good option for them. And these info sessions take place in fall term and winter terms every year. However, it's going to be very important to attend it in your first year, because if you wanted to proceed with the co-op option, it's at the end of spring term in your first year. That's when you would submit an application to apply for the co-op program. Now, the upcoming co-op admission application window is May 1st at 8:30 a.m. to May 20th at 11:59 p.m. So in 2026, so still half a year, we're still early. And to reiterate again, this is the only time that you can apply into co-op if your program falls under the Central Co-op office. It's May 1st to May 20th at the end of first year. And for your co-op admissions application, you would typically be asked to submit a resume, a letter of intent, and an unofficial transcript. Your application will then be reviewed and you'll be notified of admission decisions by the end of July. Or sometime in July, I should say. And then once you're in the co-op program, you will be assigned a co-op program specialist, and they will guide you on the next steps and support you throughout co-op. So that's basically a broad overview of what it's like applying to co-op at the Central Co-op office, and I'll pass it off to Manhattan.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Medha Cederos. I'm the senior manager of the Ted Rogers Co-op program. As was mentioned, we do operate slightly differently than the central team, and of course the FIAS team as well. Within the Ted Rogers School of Management, we actually have co-op in all 13 of our majors. The 13th being the new Health Services Management major, which is being introduced in September 2026. So students will be able to actually declare that major for the first time as co-op students. We currently actually have 2 different pathways of admission to our co-op program. If you're already a current student here at TMU, you've missed the first one. That one's the direct co-op admission. So when you apply on the online system. That is one of the pathways. The other pathway is what we call our standard co-op admission. And it is program dependent. So for accounting and finance, our business technology management, hospitality and tourism management, and retail management programs, students can apply at the end of their first year by June 1st. And then for business management students, it's at the end of second year. What that means is there are also academic requirements because you will have completed part of your degree. So that looks like a minimum 2.8 CGPA, unless you're in accounting and finance, in which case it's at 3.0, as well as completion of all required first and or second year courses, depending on program. So those are the academic requirements. In terms of the application, it's a resume, a cover letter, that's submitted unofficial transcript, and then a completion of an online form so that we have all that information in a single place. As mentioned, the deadline there is June 1st. We typically review in the first couple of weeks of June, send out offers with enough time for you to sort of accept your offer to join the co-op program by the start of July, at which point our students can start working on the prep program. So our prep program is mandatory. We have it's 5 modules online as well as some in-person components. Students are required to complete the first 3 modules in order to gain access to applying to jobs. And through the program, you need to maintain clear academic standing to stay in the co-op program. So if you go on probation, you do risk the chance of being removed from co-op. So one of the really important things to keep in mind, and I'm sure Zeke will touch on this, is once you've been admitted into co-op over the summer, so during that July period, it's really important to meet with the ISS team as soon as possible and to start working on your co-op work permit, because it does take some time, and some of our programs do go out on their first work term in the winter. So there's only about a 5-month period between admission to co-op and the first scheduled work term for our marketing, accounting, HR, and law and business students. So it's really important to apply for that work permit immediately so you've got it in time to work in the new year. But it's, obviously the ISS team is fantastic and allow our students to get through that really quickly. And the great part is you can do that concurrent while you're working on your prep and your applications in order to make sure everything's kind of buttoned up in time for that first work term. So that is it for us. We've got actually our first co-op on your mind info session to learn about the programs and the value of co-op is actually running tomorrow. So if you are around on campus and interested, you can check that out and come see that tomorrow afternoon. I will be speaking at that session, as well as a member of our careers team within the Business Career Hub. So hopefully you've got the ability to pop by tomorrow and learn a little bit more about our programs.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa. I am the Co-op Program Specialist for the Faculty of Engineering and Architectural Science Co-op Office. It's a long name. So for those of you who haven't heard about our co-op program, maybe just click all of them. Thank you. If you haven't heard about our co-op office, it's an optional program for full-time third-year students where they basically apply their academic knowledge to a professional working environment. It's available to students in the following programs, which is aerospace, biomedical, civil, computer, electrical, industrial, mechanical, mechatronics, and yeah, if you are in architectural science or chemical engineering, again, that would fall under the central co-op team, which is represented by Yvonne today. So all of our placements are 8 months, 12 months, and 16 months. 4th-month placements are not recognized by our office, actually. In terms of the eligibility requirements for our program, by September of your 3rd year, you actually need to be a full-time student. So that is defined by a minimum of 4 courses for our particular program. You need to have clear academic standing. and you must have completed all courses for semesters 1 to 4, excluding liberals. So essentially all of your courses from first year to second year. So yeah, and obviously you need to have a minimum CGPA of 1.67, and obviously a clear academic standing as well. For our application requirements, quite simple. You just need to submit your unofficial transcript from My Service Hub. And for the application window, it's between May to September, so the summer of between your second year and your third year. One thing that I want to note here is that if you are missing any courses from your first and second year, but you will be completing it before the September of your third year, and you're taking those courses through the transition program, you're still recommended to apply. Your application will just be reviewed once those final grades are out. Similar to what Yvonne mentioned, we only accept applications once a year. So please don't miss that deadline. So again, that application window is May to September, and that's going to be the summer between your second and third year. And after you get accepted into our co-op program, there is an academic eligibility criteria that we will be reviewing again in January as well as May in your third year. And for just to keep this short, you can check out our website just to see the academic requirements to remain in our co-op program. And just to mention again, our placements are a little bit different in terms of the duration. It's 8 months, which is classified as internship within this program, or 12 and 16 months, which is classified as or it leads to a co-op designation. If you take an 8-month internship, you don't get a co-op designation. So yeah, that's pretty much it about the VS co-op and internship program. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and you can also check out our website for the most up-to-date information about all of the academic criteria as well as the co-op fee associated with this program.
And then we'll just have Zeke close up the section with immigration considerations before we move on to the.
Yeah, okay. So obviously the big consideration is obtaining your co-op work permit, which as has been touched on already, is unfortunately can be a lengthy process for processing times as well, as with everything else in immigration today. So definitely get your application in as soon as you're approved in your co-op stream. So the co-op work permit is available to students who are enrolled in a program with a mandatory work experience component, which means that if you are in a program that offers a co-op but haven't been accepted into the co-op yet, you don't qualify yet for the co-op work permit. You must be approved into the co-op program, and then you can request from our office, ISS, a co-op work permit letter. If your status in the program has not already been updated in Service Hub, then we will reach out to the program or ask you to actually provide from the program your acceptance confirmation, whether it's by email or something more like an acceptance letter. We just need to see that before we can issue you the letter confirming that the work component is mandatory and that you're eligible for the permit. The co-op work permit allows you to work full-time for your co-op employer. So that employer is the approved work placement employer that your program has confirmed is eligible. The co-op work permit itself will state under the employer heading Toronto Metropolitan University. So when retroactively comes back to the university to approve the employer that you're actually attending your work at. So processing time estimates right now are quite high. They're up close to 7 months and a bit, but don't be discouraged by that. These are, first of all, just estimates, and secondly, they do fluctuate quite a bit. So our hope is that this length of time will regress in the coming months. So if you do have a need for your co-op work permit within like a 5-month time frame, go for it. Try and get the application in without any delay. You can still expect that this processing time is a longer estimate. And the other thing that we would say is that there's also other ways you can hopefully consider still working under your contract. Perhaps if you speak to the co-op coordinator, there's a way to attend full-time or part-time at the work placement, at least for a period of time while you wait for the work permit. You do have up to 24 hours a week available to you as a full-time student on a study permit. So you could possibly leverage that to get started in your work term if you're waiting on a long processing time for a permit. Once again, do attend or view the recordings of our webinar on the co-op work permit. It's a fairly straightforward application. It does not require all of the supporting documents that would go into, say, a study permit application. But the most important thing is the co-op letter that you will get from our office. And we want to make sure that we get that to you at the earliest possible point so you can get started. Thanks.
Okay, so I know that was a lot of information with a lot of different deadlines. So Yvonne's going to give us a quick summary of all of those different co-op considerations. And I will be sending out the slides to all of you after, so no worries if you aren't able to jot all of this down. You will get the slides as well as, I think the Zoom is making AI summary notes, so I'll send those as well.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, this chart summarizes what we've discussed about co-op, and the first point there, number one, really it's knowing what faculty, what program you're in, because your program will then dictate which co-op office you would contact, and you would follow through with their admission process. And then knowing what year you're in, be mindful that if you're in first year, and you fall under your program falls under the central co-op office, admission deadline is very early. Second year, if you're in second year, then be aware of those admission deadlines if your program falls under Ted Rogers or engineering. And if you've missed the admission deadlines altogether, so you're a third year or a fourth year student, then please know that there are other work integrated learning opportunities for you on campus. For example, there is still Career Boost, which is the on-campus part-time jobs. That program that you can do. The formal term is work study, but we've coined the program as Career Boost. But come to the Career Center. You can learn more about that. There's also research opportunities that you can do with your professor as well. And altogether, I just wanted to say that if you've missed any of the admission deadlines, then don't worry. You can always contact the Career Co-op and Student Success Center. You can meet with the career education specialist to talk about how to find internship opportunities or summer jobs as well. Co-op is one of the ways to get work experience, but it's not the only way. It's a great way though. As for the application windows, again, depending on which office you fall under, keep in mind that there's the shortest window is early May to the longest window could be May to September for engineering. Co-op permit window, make sure that as Zeke has already mentioned, make sure that you are getting a head start on that early. Once you've gotten admitted into a co-op program, if you're admitted, then immediately get going on getting that co-op work permit. And if we miss the window to get a co-op work permit again, if we've missed the window to apply to co-op, then don't worry, there are other work integrated learning opportunities for you. And the placement process in general for all co-op programs, know that you would be looking for a work term anywhere between 4 to 12 months before the actual start date of your work term. So you'll probably be studying and you'll be looking for work at that concurrently. And then the work terms themselves, they align with the school semester. So usually they start in September, January, or May. Again, this would depend on which co-op program you fall under. So keep in mind of all those nuances for your specific co-op program. And then the length of the work term will depend on your specific job and specific co-op program that you're in.
Okay. So that concludes the info session portion, and we'll move on to the student panel. So we'll have each of the panelists introduce themselves first, and then we will open it up to questions. So since Rafienza is with us online, maybe you can start, and then we'll just go around the room, starting on my left with Daryl.
Sure, I can kick things off. Hi everyone. My name is Rafienza. I'm currently in my 5th year, majoring in global management studies at the Ted Rogers School of Management. I'm a co-op student. I'm currently doing my last work term at the Ted Rogers Business Career Hub.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nero. I wear a few different hats, but today I'm largely representing the Faculty of Arts as a PhD student in psychological science. But I also have the opportunity to work with the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching, as well as Student Life and Learning Support as a writing consultant. So based on what I saw from the prompts, I'm going to pull on a few of those experiences, which is why I'm mentioning them. But it's a pleasure to be here and to support it.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Adem. I'm a 5th year computer science student at TMU. All of those experiences listed there are my previous internships, the most recent one at Ernst & Young, which is one of the big 4. I worked as cloud and digital engineering intern for 8 months. As Daryl said, I'll try to pull out some of my experiences as well, and hopefully provide you some insight information about how it is to do a co-op, how is the work experience like while being a student. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Hi everyone, my name is Tazeen. My full name is Tazeen Nouri Anwar. I am a 1st year PhD student in policy studies. And I'm an international student. It's my 1st semester. It's been a bit of a rough journey so far, but I'm coping. And I am a recipient of the Bridging Divides PhD student stipend, which is funded by the Canada's Excellence Research Fund. So yeah, happy to be here, happy to answer any questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Annabelle. I'm currently in my 1st year of my master's in nutrition communication. I went to the undergrad here at TMU as well, and I also work as a research assistant at TMU's Nutrition Discovery Labs. So I'm a big TMU rep. I'm really happy to be here to answer any questions. If you simply want to know about my experience, I'm happy to share.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hamid Reza. You can just call me Hamid. I'm a 4th year computer science student. I'm doing a 12-month co-op right now as a software developer in DevOps specifically. And also did an 8-month co-op with RBC as an SRE, site reliability engineer. And I will be happy to share my experience with you. I also did a little bit of research with one of my professors on this side, so I'll be happy to share that as well if anybody has questions about that.
Hi, everybody. My name is Abigail. I'm a 4th year business technology management student. I've done 2 previous co-op placements. I have my next one coming up in winter. I'm also an international student, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about my experiences today.
Okay. So if there are any questions, you can feel free to use the raise hand feature. I'm not sure if the chat function is available, but if there are any questions, let us know. Oh, there's something in the chat. So I think this is a question for Zeke. I'm an international first year electrical engineering student. And in my study permit, I noticed the issue date is still 2029, which is a duration of 4 years. If I want to do a 1-year long co-op, how am I to manage my study permit restrictions?
You can always extend a study permit longer to cover the length of a program. That is what generally happens in the co-op streams, is that an additional year will be added on. The co-ops are 5 years, and the undergrad without the co-op would be 4. So if you have a 4-year length on your study permit and your program changes from 4 to 5 years, you will at some point be submitting an application to extend that study permit. I guess the other thing to note on that is if you need to extend the study permit, you can apply either get your co-op work permit by itself first and then later on extend both, or if you want to, if you're close enough to the end of your program, you think you could maybe extend the study permit at the same time you need the co-op. It's also possible to apply for the co-op work permit as part of a study permit application. But I think in most cases, you'd probably want to start by getting the co-op work permit, assuming you're like you said, 2029, you've got lots of time left on that study permit. It's not really appropriate to extend it yet. You just need the other document, the work permit document, and then obtain that, start your co-op stream. And later on, once you're getting closer to 2029 and you need more time, then you'll be extending both at the same
time. I think you might have already answered this part of the question, but the follow-up was, when should I be applying for that extension ideally? So
yeah, so the extension anytime before the permits expire. So if they're expiring, well, so you've got your study permit, which is expiring in 2029. You'll be obtaining a co-op work permit, which will probably be tied to the same date. So sometime 6 months or so before they expire in 2029, you'd want to get started on the extension. The nice thing about extensions is, as long as you get your application in before the expiry date, the permits remain valid, or you continue to have valid status while you wait for the decision, even if the processing time goes on beyond the expiry date on your permits. It's called maintained status. You get to continue studying and working while you wait for the extension to be approved. So ideally, yeah, you don't want any gaps, just for your own convenience. So 5-6 months before they expire.
and if you sign up for the study permit tracker, you get a nudge, right?
Study permit tracker, yeah, if you submit your study permit to the ISS study permit tracker, you'll be on our mailing list for all upcoming expiries. Within 6 months, you get a push, yes.
Okay. International student in 3rd year of psychology program. It's a 4-year program. The study permit expires at the end of the studies. What if I complete all of my courses a semester early?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
Study permit expires at the end of the studies, but if they complete their studies a semester early, what happens?
Okay, so if your study permit has an expiry date that goes longer than the actual end point of your studies, you have to be aware that study permits automatically become invalid 90 days after you've received confirmation of program completion. So the graduation date is not relevant to this. Your study permit is dependent on you being an active student in your program of study. If your program of study is over and you've received basically your final grades, although usually IRCC would look for some more official document stating that you've completed the program. But we say, to be safe, you're no longer an active student once you've received your final grades. You've submitted your graduation audit. You'll probably at some point, or sorry, your application to graduate. So your program will do a graduation audit and at some point confirm if you're eligible to graduate. These are the indicators that your program is complete. So you have to start doing a countdown of 90 days after you receive confirmation that your program's complete. That date will override the expiry date printed on your study permit. And that's the point where it will actually become invalid. So if you're, as we talked about before, thinking of transitioning into a master's program afterwards, you need to be aware of that 90 days so that you initiate an extension or have your application, or sorry, have your acceptance letter before that happens. If you're not planning on going into a master's program afterwards, then whatever your plans are following your program, you might be looking at a post-graduation work permit. You might not be interested in that and have other plans. You just have to remember that your status in Canada, dependent on that study permit, will be ending 90 days after the program.
I think most of them are questions for you, Zeke. So getting the co-op permit essentially gives me 1 extra year of allowance, even if my study permit expires?
No, you'll need to extend the study permit as well. It has to, the co-op work permit is not valid on its own. It's dependent on you also holding a valid study permit. So if you get a co-op work permit, most likely it's going to be issued for the same length of time that your existing study permit is already issued at. So they'll probably expire at the same time. Not necessarily, they might issue it kind of by accident. They might give you extra time on the co-op permit, but it would only be valid for your work terms, right? Like if you're not holding a valid study permit, then how are you going to be authorized to enroll in your work terms? And then, once you are in the work terms, that's what your co-op work permit allows you to work in. So you need both documents valid.
Okay. And then we have a question about transcripts. So I'm not sure who to direct this to exactly, but the question is the official transcript issued when you complete all of your courses or at the official graduation in spring? Or do you have to request the transcript? Like, do you automatically get one when you graduate?
Yeah,
Okay. You have to order
request
one.
an official transcript through the My Credits. They're available anytime, so you could get an official transcript that is incomplete. Like if you're in 2nd or 3rd year and you want an official transcript for some reason, you can get one that shows your progress up to that point. So when you are applying, like let's say for a post-graduation work permit, one of the required documents is an official transcript that shows all of your degree requirements on it. So in that case, you have to make sure that you wait until your marks are all reflected on your transcript before having your official transcript issued to you.
But if I can add to that, depending on what you need the transcripts for, if you're applying for graduate school, then we would need your final official transcript after graduation, because then your transcript says that you've graduated. But if you're a TMU student coming here back to TMU for graduate studies, you do not need an official transcript at all, because you're internal. If you were applying, for grad school elsewhere, they'll have their own instructions, but generally you need an official transcript issued from TMU to wherever you're going to.
Can you apply to co-op from sources outside of the Career Boost portal, or does it have to be in close ties with the university? Yvonne, how does the work placement matching process work?
Again, depends on your program. I believe Matt had said that if you're a Ted Rogers student, you have to complete their co-op readiness co-op prep program before getting access to the co-op portal. And then for Central Co-op Office, our program, there is a co-op career ready program that you have to go through. And you would work with your co-op program specialist to get access to the portal. I'm not too sure about engineering.
Yeah, so for engineering, we also have something similar to a prep program. So in the summer between your second and third year, you can apply to be part of our CPP, which is the Career Pathways Program. It's essentially 13 weeks of various different types of workshops, such as like interviewing, resume, cover letter. You can do that in the summer, and you don't have to be part of the co-op program to do that. But most students who are interested in co-op decide to complete those workshops in the summer, so that once you are enrolled into our co-op program in September, you can get access to the co-op portal a lot faster than students who didn't complete those workshops. But regardless, if you're going to be a co-op student who's accepted into our program, you need to complete those workshops in order to get access to the co-op portal, which is essentially where we house all of our opportunities exclusive for co-op students.
So for TRSM and THEUS, the co-op positions are like pre-vetted, they're already there, and then for Central, you have to find your own placement?
Nope, also pre-vetted.
Pre-vetted, okay, so if you have a position in mind, is that an option, or is it only based off of the pre-vetted list that you can select from?
So for Central, you can find opportunities outside of the portal, though there are requirements. It has to be paid, it has to be full-time, it has to last the duration of the term, like at least a semester, so the 4 months, 8 months, 12, 16, you get the point. And it has to be relevant to your program of study. Now, the relevancy part is a little bit of a gray area. If you're doing a minor, I think this is where you would talk with your co-op coordinator or co-op program specialist, whoever you're designated to, and after you find into the co-op program, and then discuss with them what your career goals are and determine whether this job that you have found externally, whether it's relevant for co-op or not.
So possible, but tricky.
There's an extra process, yes.
The same applies
Same.
for engineering.
What about TRSM?
Yeah, same. We ask our students to fill out what we call an employer eligibility form, which basically explains the job, why the student feels like it links to your degree and what the value is. And then a member of our team will actually call the organization, validate everything, make sure that they understand the expectations, that they're comfortable with doing an end of term evaluation and so on. And then it can be approved. So it is extra work, but it's fairly straightforward.
Okay. And then just to clarify, Career Boost is separate from co-op. It's not the same thing or the same portal. Career Boost is like having an on-campus job. Co-op is like instead of studying for a semester, however long it is, you're working full-time at an approved institution.
Which could be on campus.
Fair. Do employers look at international students and domestic students differently, or are they pooled together? Is one category more competitive than the other? So for co-op placements, is there any differences being an international student in terms of getting placements?
I'm happy to pass this over to our co-op students from their perspective. The international students, domestic students, in just one sentence, you would apply the same way as a domestic student. So the application process, no difference, but in terms of how difficult, let's hear it from our international.
I would say it's very similar. There's some companies that expect you to have clearance for US exports and imports. So maybe if you're from a country that's sanctioned by US, you would have some problems there. For example, I'm pretty sure Intel and IBM, they don't allow certain countries to their company because of some laws with US. But for the most part, you're set as long as you can. I mean, there's some skills, like if you're good at doing interviewing, like yeah, you'll have some problems maybe with English if you're having like an interview. But other than that, like if you're good at English and you can apply and the company doesn't mind you, like doesn't have laws against that, which is pretty rare, you're the same, on the same level as almost everybody.
And in terms of if you need any sort of English support or interview prep, the Career Center can certainly help you out with. They have workshops and webinars and like online resources that you can deal with. And then the Learning Support Office has English language support options. I think they have drop-in one-on-ones, and they also have appointment options. So you can probably also run through like a mock interview process with Chris from English language support, just to kind of get that fluency and confidence with your English as well. Okay, I don't see any other questions in the chat right now. But if I can ask the co-op students, so sometimes students will worry about finding the right placement or the right opportunity. Kind of like a make it or break it, like if I don't get this specific co-op, then my future in Canada is ruined. So can you like relate to that at all? And how did you know that the placement or placements that you've gotten were the right fit?
I think the beauty of the co-op program and when you're looking for placements is your story isn't written for you. And I think if you try and set up this super specific plan, all you're really doing is boxing yourself in. Unless you try out a placement or a position, you're never really going to know if you're going to like it or not. And I think for me, over the summer, I did a marketing position and I realized I really wanted that. And I want to pursue it because in my first co-op on a business development team, they let me try out some marketing things. So it's like one door opens to another. So don't make a super specific plan because that's going to box you in. Try different things. You'll never know what you might end up liking or what you might not end up liking. So just try new things and then doors will just open for you as you try things.
Yeah, I can continue on top of what Abigail said. Basically the same thing. Try a lot of stuff. Well, is the place you should try. Your manager, your company will support you most likely. Even if you're on a certain team, like even if you got hired for example, like engineering team, but you want to do more business side, you can always talk to your manager and they usually allow you to take some other kind of work and maybe you'll find the right fit. But personally, I think the point of co-op is not to finding the right fit, is trying to explore, and maybe by the end of it, now you know what you want to do. But going into it, I don't think you would really know what is the right fit because you haven't really done the job. So I think exploring is the main part of it.
Also, I just want to add a point. A lot of things are transferable. So for whatever reason, if you do have a specific career path lined up and you want to pursue something for whatever reason it may be, if your first or second placement doesn't align with that, that's completely fine because things are transferable. Without knowing, you might be picking up the skills that would further support you down the line. So don't think that just because it didn't work out in a perfect way on your resume, that end goal is suddenly out of the picture. There are a lot of ways to get from point A to point B.
And again, that's something that the Career Center can help support you with in terms of how to word your experiences and identify those kinds of transferable skills. And then Rafienza, I think you wanted to add on to that point as well.
Yeah, just echoing from what have been said before. I'd say just keep an open mind. Again, co-op is a great opportunity for you to explore. And I remember my co-op coordinator said, just apply to roles even if you have the slightest interest, because you will never know if you will end up liking it or it may be your interest. So yeah, I say just keep an open mind and try as many things as you can before you get into the job market. And again, with co-op, you have the chance to, as Abigail said, to explore. You can pick up different skills, and I'm sure a lot of the employers are really, really supportive with that.
Also, one more point, if anyone else wants to add, please jump in. But a great way to also understand more about an industry you're interested in, or even understand what you might like better, is by going to as many events as possible. I know at TRSM we have a really big culture of student groups and networking events, and I'm sure that's similar for the different faculties as well. Network with different industry professionals, network with upper year students, and you will understand what you like better. I personally am more interested in sales now, and I developed that interest through the sales leadership program at TRSM and by going to events. So if you ever want to learn more about something, go to an event, find an industry professional, build your LinkedIn, and go find those answers yourself.
And if you're nervous about attending a networking event for whatever reason, if it's like your first time doing something like that, the Job Search Club with between careers and international student support, there is an international student job search club. And it's catered towards international students in terms of resume and interviewing, and then it sort of culminates with a networking event, I think in February, right?
Yes.
So if you wanted to have something a bit more sort of structured, then that might be a good thing to look into. So you can always send us an email to the ISS inbox asking for more information about the Job Search Club, and we'd be happy to give you more information there.
Yeah, that networking event will be February 3rd. I don't think that's tentative anymore. I think it will be February 3rd. It's available to international and newcomer students at any level. The Job Search Club really is tailored more towards graduate students, but if you want to join our series, it's concluded for this term, but it will start up again in future years. And we do cover job search, skills development, I suppose is the best way to put it, for the perspective of international students and newcomer students. So you may find it useful even if you're not in graduate studies.
Is there a pathway program that connects my undergraduate degree with a continued master's program in electrical engineering? Will I be able to manage a year-long co-op with it? So there aren't any pathway programs to my understanding in terms of directly continuing. You would have to apply. There's only one, I think, and it wouldn't
There
agree.
is an accelerated master's degree program within the Faculty of Engineering, where undergraduate students in their third year can apply to basically begin the master's degree in their fourth year concurrently with undergrad, and then continue on into the master's program. And that can shave off even up to a year of the master's once they're in. I don't know what that looks like in terms of, study permit or immigration. I'm not sure, maybe that's something that Zeke can speak to. But within electrical engineering, it is one of the programs that is eligible in general for the accelerated MASC program. And that applies to the Master of Applied Science, which is the thesis-based master's degree within engineering.
So there is one consideration, which I think if students are considering the pathway program that results in a shorter master's program, we would want to discuss with the student on a case-by-case basis, just because if you are interested in a post-graduation work permit after you finish your program, it can be, at the master's level, generally you can get a 3-year PGWP, as long as your master's program is at least 8 months in length. So we would want to look at it on a case-by-case basis to see if it was possibly going to affect your eligibility for the PGWP by shortening the master's program too much. In which case, before you make any decisions, we might advise that you stick with the usual length of the program in whatever way that would be possible. But in most cases, there wouldn't be too much complication. You would have continuity with the study permit. You would extend it based on the documentation that you had to show the end date of the master's and your enrollment documents for that. So it should be straightforward from that perspective, at least. So yeah, a lot of considerations. So definitely have a chat with our advisors.
And then part 2 to that question, would adding a year-long co-op to the undergrad in that situation be okay? So, sorry, you said the 3+1, it starts in third year or fourth year, you take the
Yeah,
extra courses?
I suppose that would, when I say third year, I'm assuming a 4-year program, but that would lengthen if you're pursuing co-op. Like, I guess co-op would be, let's say, 5 years, so, before your last year is when you would apply.
So you could theoretically do both.
Theoretically, you can do both.
Okay. But again, you'd have to probably speak with all three of these different offices to be able to figure out all the logistics, because you would be dealing with a lot of different deadlines and timelines and processing times. So definitely, if that's your plan, reach out to ISS, speak with the graduate studies and speak with the co-op office for your particular program, to make sure that they're all coinciding correctly with each other. So for question for Melissa, you only get to apply for 12 and 16-month co-ops. Does that mean you get to have only one opportunity to work with an organization, or can I have it split between a couple of different companies that add up to that amount of time?
Office, we only recognize placements that are again 8 months, 12 months, or 16 months, and they are consecutive. So it's a little bit different from our other programs here, as well as different universities. So let's say you are interested in working with company ABC, right? And you start in May for 12 months, you are expected to stay with company ABC for 12 months. That's just kind of how our co-op program works. And some feedback from both students and employers, at least within the engineering industry, they prefer that just because you get the chance to actually train, as well as be part of high visible projects for a longer period of time. So yeah, we only recognize placements that are consecutive.
So if you're doing co-op through the FIAS program, is it only one placement that's possible throughout your undergrad?
Yes, so it's gonna be one placement with one employer only.
Okay. Whereas with the other ones, you could have more than one placement, because it seems like everyone on the panel has had more than one co-op placement. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's an important distinction to keep in mind as well. Can a 2-year master's student apply for a PhD during their final semester, thesis semester?
Yes, they can. So I would recommend applying by the first consideration date, if possible. And then the deadline is March 13th for the following fall semester. And the deadline differs every year, but it's usually around the same time. It'll be, so like last year was, January 20th and March 14th. So, keep that in mind. If depending on when you're finishing your master's degree, you could potentially apply for the PhD to begin in the winter semester or the spring. And again, different deadlines apply there. And so it is, it is very common for master's students to then begin their PhD right after the master's degree.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tazeen and Daryl, do you want to comment at all on applying to your PhD from your master's?
Yeah, so I would add that it does also depend a little bit on the culture of the program and the specific department. So in my program for psychology, even when I was applying for my master's, there were sort of undertones of understanding that the PhD would naturally follow the master's. And so because of those sort of expectations, first of all, it changed a little bit how you applied to the program. So a lot of the professors, and I don't know if this is like wrong or right, but a lot of the professors were kind of looking for students with PhD potential, even if you weren't already decided if you were going on to the PhD. Also, because our program is quite competitive, there are a lot of applicants. So it was just in the best interest of folks within the faculty to kind of look out for potential PhD candidates. And so when it came to applying to my PhD, it almost kind of felt more like a formality, and it kind of just happened right at the end of the program. I always joke with people and say, it felt like they were like, "You're gonna do your PhD, right? Okay, great." And it was just like, "Okay, I guess I'm starting my PhD." So that also meant that the program really facilitated the application process. So our graduate program director was very helpful in sort of making sure we had all the documents that we needed and sending out emails and making sure everything transitioned very smoothly. So, and I understand that in other programs, it's not necessarily like that. The application to the PhD might be a little bit more competitive, or it might be a more formal process. You might have to interview again and things of that nature. So just make sure that you get a sense of what the culture of the program is if you're thinking of applying. And a really great resource for that is talking to current grad students. So they can tell you what is it really like in this program and how does it differ from different departments and programs that might exist.
And do most programs have like graduate student like groups or something? Like where would a student go to find those people to speak to?
So again, varies widely by program. In psychology, one of the best resources for that would be actual labs. So in the Department of Psychology, the Department of Psychology is made up of a bunch of different labs. Basically, each faculty member or professor has their own lab with anywhere from, I would say, 2 to 5 graduate students in their lab. And so those labs are usually publicly available. They have like little websites where you can see the publications that they do, the work that they do, the way they engage with both the academic and external communities. And they also usually list their grad students there. And so you can try to connect with them that way. There are student associations as well. So there's the PGSA, for example, the Psychology Graduate Student Association, as well as other sort of extracurricular bodies that help with this. But I would mainly start by reaching out to the program directly. So for example, again, here at TMU, the psych program has a committee as well as a few events that are dedicated specifically to not just recruiting undergraduate students into the department, both within and without TMU, but also looking for specifically like diverse candidates, people from different backgrounds, and people from equity-seeking groups. So things like international students, racial minorities, gender minorities, all sorts of folks. And so you can go to events and engage with those committees as well to get some sense of how can you connect me with a current grad student, somebody who I could ask a little bit about their experience and things of that nature.
And would those be advertised on like Explore TMU, or would an Instagram account be better to follow?
Ooh, that's a great question. If you're a TMU student, I think I didn't ask this. Is everybody here a TMU student?
If they should be, yeah.
Okay. So if you're a TMU student, it's a little bit easier. These kinds of things I've seen them in a few different mailing lists. But I would recommend the department website. There may be some social media accounts, but again, I think that depends a little bit on program as well. But the program website is usually a great place to start, as well as potentially the program administrator.
So, Suzanne, did you want to
Yeah,
jump in?
I'll bring a bit of the international student angle over here, if you will. So basically, I completed my LLB, my Bachelor of Laws, and my Master of Laws, as well as a postgraduate diploma from the UK. So I had no connection to TMU prior to applying for my PhD, and my PhD is policy studies, which is a very interdisciplinary program. So we have people who are my classmates who have come from architecture background, people who have come from indigenous studies background, and also some from previous, policy immigration background. It's a very diverse PhD program. So I think it's a bit different for me because when I was applying, I initially my first line of contacting people in the program was through the TMU website, the program page. So when I was looking for, because being someone from a legal background and coming into policy studies, which was completely different, which is why I said in the beginning it was like a lot of things to take in. But I think contacting or getting in touch, as Daryl has said, getting in touch with people who were in the program, who have done it before you, and also getting in touch with the supervisors or potential supervisors who you would want to approach. So, doing some background checks over there, looking for people who align with what you want to pursue your PhD on. from your master's. So mine didn't actually carry on from my legal background into my, well, kind of did, but not entirely. So I reached out to the professors in the faculty of arts, or people who were probably teaching policy studies or who had a background in immigration law, because that's kind of what I am studying. So they're the ones who would advise me as to, okay, to make sure you include these things in your letter of interest or letter of motivation and your purpose statement. So I got some advice from them as well. Along with, the students. So what I did was I contacted those students on LinkedIn. I found, the LinkedIn profiles. I got in touch with them. And then I kind of got an idea about what the program was about and what are the prospects, after you're done with the PhD, because mine isn't really to be in academia. I'd probably use my PhD credentials so that people take me more seriously. Just jokes aside. But yeah, that is, I think, the best way to transition as a international student from there to, a PhD at TMU.
And one just quick thing that I would add, knowing that folks are TMU students, if you're thinking of going into graduate studies, one of the best things you could also do is just approach one of your professors and tell them, hey, I'm thinking of going to grad school. And usually they're very, very good about, first, they're going to get very excited. And then, but usually they're really good about connecting you to resources, whether that's other students, other professors, or like organizations within the university that can help you. Of course, I would recommend you approach somebody in the faculty that you're thinking of applying to. So if you're doing like Tazeen and you're coming from a totally different faculty, you're studying law and you're thinking of going to policy studies, don't approach law professors to say you're going to grad school. Find a policy studies professor and ask them about it.
And part of the application process is references, right? So that would be probably a good thing as well to see if you got a reference there.
So that's a little bit different. It depends on the nature of the relationship. And I'm sure Christine, yes, can speak more to this. But I will say from the perspective of somebody who's gone through the process, it's very important that your references actually know you and have some experience with you and have worked with you and can speak to some of your qualities and strengths and things of that nature. So if you are approaching a faculty member asking for advice to get into grad school, that's fine. But to take it further and ask for a reference letter, I would definitely recommend making sure that you've actually worked or engaged with this professor in some significant capacity, and at least having, for example, at the very least, having gone to like their office hours many times and had like several conversations with them. That I would say is like the bare minimum type of relationship you would want to have with a professor specifically. Ideally, if you had like a research assistantship with them, or you helped out in another class or something, or you served as a TA or an academic assistant, that would be even better. But I wouldn't advise that you ask professors that you don't really know for a reference letter. You can kind of tell when you read a reference letter whether the person really knows who they're talking about or not. And so even if it's been a little while since you've worked with the person, if it's been a couple of years, if you worked closely and had a really great experience, I would definitely ask that person for a reference letter rather than approaching some random faculty member.
I can add to that as well, because yeah, so kind of piggybacking on what Daryl was saying, you want to choose references that know you very well. So usually it's professors in third or fourth year courses, maybe smaller courses where you got to know them, or in office hours, etc. Depending on the program, for a lot of the thesis-based master's degrees, they oftentimes want your like fourth year thesis supervisor, right? Or as mentioned, like if you worked in an RA position, to kind of attest to your research potential, your research experience. And it's a good idea to really have, a close discussion with them about why you're pursuing a program you want to, why you feel you have potential to be strong in that program, and send them your statement of interest. So they also have some context for when they're writing their reference. And then the other aspect for that, going back to, reaching out to faculty members in the program. Many programs, thesis-based masters, and then also for PhD, many programs recommend that you identify a prospective supervisor when you're applying. And so it's a good idea then to, reach out to faculty members, so professors who are doing research aligned with what you want to research in your master's and PhD, and see if they are interested in supervising you. Are they even taking graduate students for the intake that you're applying to? And then you can mention them in your application, your statement of interest, and there's a section in the OUEC as well to mention them.
Can 2 years master's students, oh wait, no, sorry, we did that one, final semester, yeah. Okay. Did you have any questions? No, okay.
While you're searching that, I can just quickly add to what Christina was saying. For psychology, and I imagine other programs, it's actually required that you have to find a supervisor, because you don't really get accepted into the program broadly. Like, you get taken by a specific faculty member, or maybe sometimes there are two who kind of co-supervise you. So that that process of like finding somebody whose work you like, or who specializes in whatever area you're interested in researching, is really, really important. And on the note of applying from MA or from master's to PhD, it's kind of a given or expected that your master's supervisor would be one of your letters. I was told it actually like looks weird if your supervisor does not provide a letter for you. So just bear that in mind.
Okay. So generally to the students on the panel, kind of touched on this a little bit already, but how do you find community or build relationships? So how did you kind of find your people within your program, within like the co-op placement, anything like that?
I guess so actually, so when I was first year and second year, like unfortunately, like my first year was a bit like distant, like it was like because of COVID, and I struggled to find the community in computer science specifically. But after that, I started to take some placements in like extracurriculars, like mainly. So I took on this initiative at some couple TMU clubs, and also some initiatives in UFT clubs as well. So I was leading this hackathon, which is called Marketability, which is like a hackathon is basically a student project competition event dedicated to computer science students. So that really helped me to build my community, so like build my network, build my find people that are around me. And like once I started to like get in touch with them, I really started to learn a lot, and which definitely led me to apply and find placement in UI. Because before starting, actually was one of the first questions I wanted to answer, but like I didn't want to confuse people. So the thing is, I started with some different roles. For example, I started with business solutions, and then I started with I continued with business analyst role at Enbridge. But like as you can see, like both of those roles were business related, and that wasn't really something that I really wanted to like continue in. So the good thing that would like a couple of my colleagues said, the good thing with co-op is it's short amount of time. So once you see that this is not really your thing, you can always transfer your skills and switch to the one area that you want to excel in. So all of these steps, like first off, finding the community, and then building the relationships, and then learning from both of those, definitely led me to find a placement I really enjoyed. Like 8 months, I really enjoyed that UI, and so like even for my future, right after I graduate, I'll be graduating this year. I'm hoping to go back to them, or like maybe their competitor Deloitte. But yeah, like both of those skills and like finding my community helped me get where I am. So
Awesome.
that's pretty much it.
I can add to that. Yeah, I agree. Joining clubs and events, it definitely helps you to, expand your connections, make new friends, and just finding your own community. And I think finding your people is also really, really beneficial for you. Finding people with the same background as you. I know we have like the Filipino student clubs, the Koreans. So I think having those people around, it will give you like a sense of home and make you less homesick. So I think it really helps with your journey studying abroad.
And a quick plug for ISS with that. If you check out Explore TMU, we have events pretty much at least once a month, I feel like. And those are great places to meet other international students, as well as the Tri-Mentoring program tends to have a lot of events, and some of those are sort of culture-based specific. So like Rafienza was saying, you might see like different like discussion groups happening. And then there's also specifically the Black Student Support office that does specific programming for Black students. So definitely check out Explore TMU just to even see what's happening this month. That's kind of what I do is every month I just check Explore TMU and browse through the titles to see what might be interesting and then kind of plug those in. And yeah, see what might interest you because like everyone's been saying, you don't really know what something's going to be like until you actually show up. And if you show up, stay for 10 minutes and leave a little early, no one's going to judge you. But if you show up and you meet someone and it ends up being a relationship that really propels like your career and your time here at TMU, then trying out those 10 minutes might really be worth it. If you want to say, Annabelle?
I'd add to that. So I think a lot of people here touched on like joining student groups. I really second that opinion. Really find groups that where you can share similar interests or similar background. For example, Rafienza talked about like looking for student groups with similar backgrounds. Like there's like from where your home country is. Another way you could go about it is your field. So for example, in nutrition, we have a nutrition course union. So you can really expand your connections with other students in your program in the upper level or even at the master's level. You could also connect in terms of your shared interests. For example, there's a lot of intramurals, sports club where you can meet new people outside of your field and connect with them in like other aspects because we need connections in like not just in your field, but also outside of your field in terms of your interests and meeting new people. There's also a free food Discord in TMU, and I know that I've found people who consistently show up in those events, and then they just gather together and make that community to look for free.
Half the time I'm like, I'm hungry. Let's see what events are happening today and see if they have food. Like it's actually like you can basically not eat lunch, not bring lunch most days if you just go to Explore TMU and find an event to go to. So cost saving measure as well. You can like make connections and then like not spend money on lunch.
Exactly. And a lot of the same people show up, so you'll know them and then you'll start going out for free food together. That's how you build community.
Tazeen, maybe if I can bring the question over to you in terms of like finding the right fit, since you chose a program that wasn't necessarily directly connected to your previous studies. So how did you decide on TMU and policy studies specifically, having done everything else in the UK and within the law sphere?
So I completed my master's and my bachelor's in the UK, but then I went back to my home country in Bangladesh and I was in academia for a while before I shifted to, practicing law. So when I started to practice law, I saw that if you really want to make any sort of noticeable change, you have to do it not by being in your field only. You have to learn more about policies and how policies work. So I was looking for programs which are not PhD specifically in law, but which would, work with migration policies, because I used to work for the largest startup in Bangladesh, and they had operations around across Asia as well as Middle East. So I was like, okay, I want to learn, or I want to do a little more of my studies in immigration law or with immigration law, but I don't want to just, study things in particular and become hyper specialized. So that's when I found the program of policy studies at TMU. And then I saw people's backgrounds, as I mentioned before, that they necessarily didn't always come from like an immigration policy study background, but other backgrounds as well, which is why I decided that, maybe this is something that would make more sense for me. Because, immigration law is one thing, but immigration policies is another thing. And there's lots of, things going around, and it's very hot topic right now, immigration policies, labor law, and all of that. So that is why I found that this program in particular, policy studies, was something that would help me further my my ambition and what I actually wanted to do with with this knowledge. So yeah, I mean, that's why I am here and I'm doing my PhD in policy studies. I'm enjoying it quite a lot because it opens up your eyes. Like I know people who are doing PhD, it's mostly it's not about, being hyper specialized, but also learning to open up your mind and expose yourself to different perspectives as well. And since once you become a person who has a PhD, you would be someone who's going to produce knowledge or be a creator of knowledge. So I'm really enjoying this program. I am really learning a lot. I'm learning about how policies are created, how you should talk for the kind of audience you want to convince. So yeah, that's basically why I'm here. And just to add to, how do you build community? ISS is a great way to do that. I've attended a lot of the events and the workshops that they have provided so graciously. But also, I think since I hold a stipend from Bridging Divides, so what I do is I visit their office quite often so I can meet more people, meet more faculty members, and this is also a good opportunity to get like research assistant opportunities, academic assistant opportunities. So the more you expose yourself to people in the faculty, the more easier it is, better opportunities to work as well.
So just to finish off the panel here, if we can just go around the room, including the staff members who are here today, if you can just say one piece of advice or a takeaway that you would like the students here to have, if there's like one thing that they can take away from today, or one piece of advice that you would give either based on co-op or based on graduate school, what would it be? We'll start with Daryl. Unless you need a minute.
Think about my feet. So I would say there's two things that I'm really thinking of. One is keep an open mind. Piggybacking a little bit off what Tazeen said, I had a similar experience where my PhD is in psychology, but my undergraduate degree was actually in human biology and in neuroscience. And I had a very different sort of trajectory. Long story short, because I was open to what graduate school could provide, I ended up coming to TMU and coming specifically to psychology. And it's totally changed my trajectory in very, very positive ways. And I think that really resonates quite a bit with things that other folks are saying, like Abigail and Hamid, and just keeping an open mind, even whether it comes to your co-op placement or grad studies or working with different professors, being able to explore some of those things that make you curious, like your secondary interests or things that just kind of catch your attention, can really open up wonderful doors for you. So as much as it's great to have like a plan and to have maybe everything kind of meted out, when you recognize that there are other opportunities out there and you do have like secondary interests or little curiosities, being able to lean into those things can really open doors for you and create positives that you didn't know existed. So I would say keeping an open mind.
Definitely, I learned some stuff about the grad school. Because right now I'm in the stage, even though I said yes, I want to continue at EY or Deloitte or whatever the consulting opportunity. The grad school is something I don't want to skip as well in this point of my career. So as you guys, like as everyone was contributing, I was thinking how much like point of contact I had, like how much contact did I have with my professors, even though most of them knows like I'm an active student, so I try to participate in the like their lectures, discussions, whatever. But if I were to ask for a reference, do I really have that connection? That was something, that was a question I had in mind. So right now, probably right after this, I just go spam some emails, hey, so have you been doing, etc. Like I have one or two professors like I'm really close with. Like even like last week or the week before, I saw him in Open Cafe. Like we had a tea together, we talked, and just like in general, not school relevant. But so definitely key takeaway is that we should be maintaining that communication between our professors, because they will definitely be a use even for grad school. So yeah, that's definitely what I'm taking away from today, and that what I'll suggest for everyone to take if you're still a student. And the flute. Free flute.
For me, it would definitely be what Adam said, networking, right? People, get to know people, talk to more people, be around different kinds of people, because you don't know what opportunities, you don't know what kind of thoughts and different ways of approaching things you would get from talking to them. So yeah, network, build connections and maintain connections as well. Of course, that's very important. So yeah, that's what my key takeaway would be.
And just to add to that, if you're nervous about networking as an initial step, loiter, like just go to a lobby or like an office space and just kind of hang out. Someone will probably approach you at some point and they can start the conversation for you. I know at the ISS lounge, for example, we almost always have student staff hanging out in that sort of waiting room lounge area who will interact with you. So if you're nervous about starting it, maybe go to a place where someone else might start that conversation for you. And then as you build your confidence, you can kind of move into networking. I know that word can be scary sometimes for people. It really just means talking, having conversations. But if you're not the kind of person who is comfortable with starting that, then literally just loiter and it'll happen at some point.
Just show up.
Yeah.
Just be there.
Just be there. Did you have any advice for students?
Yeah, I would say in particular as international students, just take advantage of the resources and the support systems that are provided to you. Often that nervousness or that feeling of like whether these services aren't for me or the support is not for me is what keeps people from taking advantage of them. So whether it's attending a networking session or going to an employer event, or even just coming into the office, whether it's the Business Career Hub at TRSM, whether it's our colleagues centrally or in FIAS, walk in there, right? The teams are there to support you. We want you to come in, we want to help. But that has to be driven by you guys walking through the door or registering for the events or taking advantage of what's out there, whether it's something like Career Boost, Co-op, etc. you know, those are the things that will help set you apart and set your experience apart while you're here at school and make it that much more impactful for you.
I may have to just add to that because that was similar to what I had in mind, but it's never too early to have the conversations with the people here and in our respective departments who are there to support you. If things like deadlines, timelines look intimidating, that's where we can be most effective to support you. So get to know us, figure out who you need to talk to, and then it's up to us to provide the advice that we can and the guidance that we can. So yeah, just make use of all these departments, these resources that are here to enhance your studies.
I love this theme that we're seeing here today about being open-minded with exploring graduate school options. And it's a common misconception that you have to go and do your master's in exactly what you studied in undergrad and then do a PhD. But as we've seen here today, that's not necessarily the case. There are some programs that have very specific requirements, like the Nutrition and Communication Masters, but there are also tons of programs that are very broad in what they're looking for. There are 70 programs at TMU for graduate studies, 46 master's degrees, 4 professional master's diplomas, and 20 PhDs. And I've seen so many, you know, interesting and exciting kind of pathways. Like I've recently seen a biology major go to the MA in child and youth care because their passion is working with youth, right? So really explore what are your professional and your personal goals. And there is a program out there for you if you're interested in going to grad school, whether it's going into a research-based program or a professional program. I also just quickly want to pitch a webinar we have coming out on November 26th about how to prepare a strong graduate program application. And there's information on our website, torontomu.ca/graduate. Hope to see you there.
I would say there's a couple of pieces that I want to highlight. First is in your undergrad, try to be as involved as possible. For example, I worked part-time. I was also involved with a lab. I was also volunteering. I feel like those experiences are what really helped me identify what I really like and what I don't like. I feel like it's hard to just be theoretical about, oh, I like this, I don't like this. You don't really know until you experience it, as a lot of people have mentioned. So try to be as involved as you can. And I know it's hard to try to speak to professors or network with people, but just remember they're all humans. A couple of years ago, they were also in your position. So just try to humanize them and connect. If you can't connect right off the bat with what's in their field, you can also connect in things that you have in common. For example, like, oh, that Jays game last night. Like there's a lot of ways you can connect with people. And number 2 is try to manage your time. If you have a lot of these opportunities, experiences that you're working on, definitely try to manage your time so that you don't get burnt out either. There's a lot of resources that people have mentioned today. Don't feel like you're an inconvenience to use these resources. They are part of your tuition, by the way. So definitely use them. For example, when I was applying for my graduate studies, I really worked with the people from the Career and Co-op Center to help me boost my resume and also help me with interviews that I had for my graduate studies. Yeah.
What everybody else said, I think something that is specific for co-op and your field placements, be nice to work with. I see a lot of people, especially students who just come out of high school. It's normal. There's a lot of skills that you're gonna learn, but just keep that in mind that they're mentoring you. You're there to get mentored and learn a lot of skills. So just be nice to work with, take criticism well, and that's for your placement, I think. And during your studies, other than finding opportunities, make opportunities, if that makes sense. Like, make a student group, go for it. It's not that hard, actually. I've done it. I know a lot of people have done it. Even if it doesn't work, who cares? It's part of your tuition again. Yeah, like do stuff that you want to do. Don't be scared. It's intimidating. And find your support group. If that makes sense. Find a few people around you that they're with you and they support you through your initiatives, like through your job search, for example. Have a few people that, other than the support that the International Student Center would give you, you could also ask your support group to help you with those stuff, maybe refer you. So keep that also in mind.
I think it's important to do everything, do it scared, regardless of how you're feeling. Show up, try new things, be open-minded, and just also remember that your hard work and your effort will never betray you. If you go to a networking event and it doesn't work out, those are just not your people. You move on, you go to the next one. Your takeaway is that at least you got a couple conversations in and you're more confident. And I think a lot of things, even with co-op, it can be scary. I remember before my first day, I was terrified, but you just got to do things. And as you do more things, that confidence comes with that. So it's not like you're going to be confident and you do things well. No, it's like you do those hard things and you become confident. So just keep trying and keep an open mind.
Yeah, for my takeaway, I hope that you all, students on the call would do, as a staff, we've already had a big plug about co-op. So the plug I will say is that at the Career Co-op and Student Success Center, I want to plug specifically our student success team, because if you ever feel like, I feel like blank, but I don't know where to go to the student success team, and we're at Pod 60, Career Co-op Student Success Center, book a meeting with the student success navigator. Their whole job is to direct you to the various services around at the university. We know that the university is very big, lots of departments, lots of people here to help support you, but you might not know that they exist. So there's actually a team who is like a map to direct you to the people that can assist you. So don't ever hesitate for that help.
It's really great advice. I think I'll give two pieces of advice, one for international students and one for just general advice. I think for international students, based on what I've seen on the co-op side, similar to what Zeke mentioned earlier, it's never too early to start the process. So start as early as you can. And, such as attending these events to see what the process is like and what's out there. It's a really great starting point. So great job on attending this event. And I think some general advice for students, again, based on my experience at the co-op office, is that everything in your undergrad is additive. So again, even starting attending these events or, coming to speak to one of your co-op coordinators, all of those things are going to lead you to where you need to be and where you want to be. So don't discount any of those small things in your undergrad.
I'll start with the takeaway and explore TMU, free food. Just to piggyback with what my colleagues in co-op said, come to our offices early. Don't come when you have to apply for the co-op program. Come in the first year. Working within the engineering co-op program, we take the work integrated learning very seriously. It's a very important, we believe that it's a very important component of what you're going to be studying. It's a hands-on technical program discipline. So we do take it very seriously, and it can get a bit complicated. The more you understand it, the type of positions, the type of industries they can get into, it can get very complicated. So use our services, come to our office, go to the career center, meet with our colleagues, and find out what are the different ways that you can take advantage of these programs. You have to plan early. You can start attending employee events, even if you're not applying for jobs. You can start attending the events just to get to know the type of industries, type of companies that gonna be potentially hiring you for your co-op program. So make an appointment with us, learn more about the program and plan it.